as well. Grizzlies putting it out there. They are entertaining a Ja Morant trade. By the way, they get to play in Berlin and New York the next. I just love that. But Shams, again, shout out, reporting that, yep, offers are being entertained to move him ahead of the February 5th trade deadline. Draft picks, young players seems to be where their priorities lie. He is averaging 19 a game when he plays. Lou, we just went through the Trae Young thing. They just moved him to Washington, and all the talk was, should have done it earlier. I'm wondering if you're looking at this Ja Morant situation and thinking this feels very deja vu.
No, not to me. In my opinion, I think it's different because the scenarios are different. You know, Memphis is looking at this as they should individually as an organization. So I don't think you compare it to Trae Young. I think now that Trae Young has been traded and he's off the board, there becomes a domino effect now. Now that that's happened, everybody else can start looking around and saying, okay, well, let's see what our options are and let's see what choices we need to make to move forward for our organization as a whole. And so I don't know. You know, Ja's not having his best season in the world, but he's going to go out there. If he goes in the trade market, like they're saying that they're entertaining some conversations, he's going to be a valuable player. He's going to be a valuable piece. But Memphis is stuck on draft picks. I think Atlanta was at a place where they knew it was time for a fresh start for them, and it was a fresh start time for Trae Young, and they didn't really do a lot of due diligence about looking around the league and things of that nature, and it looked like they jumped at the first thing that came to them. Memphis is kind of in a different scenario. You know, they have Jaren Jackson, and they feel like he can be a cornerstone. The city and the fan base probably feels a little differently about that. That's a conversation that they can have, but when it comes to Ja Morant, I just think the scenario is different. And I think Memphis is going to be a lot more patient in trying to get the value that they feel like they deserve for a player like Ja Morant. So I think the scenarios are completely different. They got a lot of time to figure that out. But to start having those conversations now, they give themselves an ample amount of time to be patient and see what's out there for them and see if they can get the most bang for their buck.
Yeah, the Hawks still think that they can win more now by moving off Trae Young and build around Jalen Johnson and bring in a CJ McCollum. The Grizzlies are almost going straight tank rebuild mode if they want to get off Ja Morant and try and get as many picks as possible. Now, the trade with Trae Young definitely didn't do him any favors with his value because they're kind of similar type value guys, which I think Trae Young's even might be a little higher at this point with all the stuff that Ja Morant's been through. So I don't know what that's going to look like or what you can possibly get back for Ja Morant because all the reports are there's not that much interest. All the reports are that people don't want to deal with all the off-the-court stuff, and not to mention he's been very hurt. His numbers are all the way down. He's only played 18 games this year, so he hasn't been able to find a way on the floor, which is sad because we all know when he's on the floor, man, he is one of the best players in the NBA. He is one of the most exciting, fun, entertaining players in the NBA. So we want Ja Morant on the court. We want him healthy, and he just hasn't been able to figure out a way to do that. So I don't think the Trae Young trade definitely didn't do him any favors, but I think the Grizzlies, like Lou said, I think they'll be more patient here. I think they want to kind of, if they're going to get off him, they want to make their future brighter and kind of start building around the Jaren Jackson post-Ja Morant era. Trae Young and the Hawks, that's a different situation. The Hawks feel like they got better. The Hawks feel like they could still make a playoff push this season. So they are completely two different situations, but Ja Morant's dug himself a deep, deep hole now, and a lot of teams aren't even excited at the opportunity that he's in trade rumors, honestly, which is crazy because he's so talented.
It's a really quick drop. He's never played over 67 games. Lou, I'm going to start with you on this one because I think the story, obviously we have hindsight now, and there's going to be some revisionist history, but the greatest that we've ever spoken on Ja almost felt like when he got himself suspended, and we were all just sort of like wishful thinking, like, this kid could be the face of the league. So now I'm wondering, was he a superstar the whole time? Did we want him to be a superstar? Like, what tier have you been putting Ja on?
He is, but he's going through it. He's going through it. That's the nature of the beast. Sometimes guys go through it. You know, you have scenarios where, you know, you put yourself in a position to be criticized for things that you do off the court, and he did that, and he accepted responsibility somewhat for his actions, and he moved on. And to his credit, it's been quite a while since we've talked about anything with Ja Morant and off-court issues. Now the issue is his availability, him being available to play basketball at the level that we've been that we've been spoiled to see him play. You know, even I remember him making the comment that he was going to slow down Duncan a little bit because he wanted to evolve his game. I think that came from the injuries and some of the things that he was dealing with. You know, the back stuff and all of that. He had a lot of different issues when it comes to injuries, right? So I still feel like he's a superstar caliber player. I think a fresh start is much needed. I think it's time for him to get out of Memphis like it is for Trae. Like, look how excited Trae Young looks with the Washington Wizards. No, seriously.
I agree.
Happy. Like, he looks genuinely happy to be in a new environment, get a breath of fresh air, a new start, to have an opportunity to be able to build something from ground up with the Washington Wizards who has their fair share of struggles, right? He looks happy to be there. I think that type of reset can do amazing things. It can do numbers for Ja Morant. You put him somewhere where he's excited and he's happy, he gets a fresh start, to be around some new energy with an expectation level that's not so shadowy and cloudy around him. You know, he's had some issues off of the court in Memphis. Send him somewhere else that he can get that fresh start, where he can kind of take some of that pressure off of his shoulders and have an opportunity to restart his career. But I do think he's still a superstar caliber player. Hasn't shown it in recent history, that's fair to say, but I think it's still there. I think he's young enough to be able to get back in that conversation.
Yeah, I think he learned the hard way that he was a superstar. He is a superstar, but talent can only get you so far. And with that superstar role, there comes responsibilities, and that's your production on the court, and that's how you act outside of that facility in your community. And then he's made decisions that are all self-inflicted that have led him to this point. And then you pile on the injuries, you pile on the Memphis Grizzlies losing, all with the extracurricular stuff that he's doing off the court. It's just not good, and it's just put a damper on it, kind of this part of his career. And I'm with Lou. I still think he can figure this out because I think he is that good. I think he is that talented. He is so explosive. He did say he's going to stop dunking and then did one of the sickest dunks like 2 games later. I don't know if I'll take that too seriously, but he is must-watch TV. He can still be an all-star type player in this league, no doubt. He's just got to be available, and he's not.
The marriage is stale, and there's only one way to fix that. You got to get out. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens. We're going to take a quick break. Our pal, is waiting on the other side.
He made it.
There he is. Bobby Portis.
Bets on you, Bobby. We was betting against you, Bobby.
Yeah, I lost, Bobby. I lost.
All right, Warriors Nation. Let's talk about something that feels uncomfortable, risky, controversial, and at the same time, absolutely fascinating. Because if you've been paying attention to the NBA landscape lately, one name keeps floating closer and closer to the Golden State Warriors' orbit: Ja Morant. Now listen, before anyone jumps in the comments yelling, "He's not the same guy," or "too much baggage," or "that's not Warriors basketball," let's slow this down for a second, because this conversation is a lot deeper than highlights, box scores, or hot takes. This isn't about nostalgia, Ja. This isn't about pre-suspension, Ja. This is about context, timing, leverage, and opportunity. The Memphis Grizzlies are at a crossroads. That part is no longer debatable. They've already traded Desmond Bane. They've extended Jaren Jackson Jr. They're openly listening on Ja Morant. And once a franchise lets that toothpaste out of the tube, you don't just shove it back in and pretend everything's fine. The league knows it, the locker room knows it, Ja knows it. And that matters. Because Ja Morant right now is what executives quietly call a distressed asset. Not because the talent disappeared, it hasn't. When Ja's healthy, locked in, and downhill, he's still one of the most explosive guards in basketball. But availability, efficiency, injuries, off-court mistakes, and a max contract have all collided at the worst possible time. His value is lower than it's ever been. And that's exactly when smart organizations start asking dangerous questions. Golden State is one of those organizations. The Warriors are not rebuilding. They're not tanking. They're not sitting around waiting for the future. They are in the business of maximizing what's left of the Stephen Curry era. Every move, every conversation, every phone call between now and February 5th is filtered through one lens only. Can this help us win now without breaking who we are? That's where Ja Morant becomes such a polarizing topic. On the surface, it looks messy. Ja isn't a perfect shooter. His jump shot numbers are rough. His efficiency is dipped. He hasn't been consistently healthy. And yes, the off-court history is real. This isn't a fairy tale. But here's the other side, the side that makes Warriors fans stop scrolling. Golden State doesn't need Ja Morant to be the face of the league. They don't need him to be the loudest voice in the room. They don't need him taking 25 shots a night. What they would need is something far more specific: pressure. Right now, defenses load up on Steph Curry like it's their full-time job. Traps, blitzes, face guarding him at half court, making every possession exhausting. And the Warriors have struggled, not because Steph isn't great anymore, but because there are moments when the offense has no downhill chaos. No one who scares defenses into collapsing immediately. Ja Morant, even at less than 100%, still bends defenses in ways very few guards can. He gets 2 feet in the paint, he forces rotations, he creates panic. And when you put that next to Steph Curry, the greatest off-ball weapon the league has ever seen, the geometry of the floor changes instantly. Now, let's talk culture, because this is where the Warriors are different. Golden State is not Memphis. It's not chaos. It's not loose structure. This organization is built on accountability, hierarchy, and clarity. Steve Kerr, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, that leadership core is not optional. It's not flexible. You don't come in and do things your way. You adapt or you sit. And that's exactly why some people inside the league quietly believe Golden State could be one of the few environments where a Ja Morant reset could actually work. Not to enable him, not to excuse anything, but to stabilize him. No one is asking Ja to be the alpha here. Steph is the alpha, always has been. Ja wouldn't be carrying a franchise. He'd be joining one with a clear identity. And sometimes the most talented players don't fail because they're bad. They fail because they're carrying too much, too early, with too little structure. Is it a gamble? Absolutely. Would it scare ownership, fans, and media? No question. But let's be honest with ourselves as Warriors fans. The window is not infinite. You don't get unlimited chances with a top 10 player of all time still playing at this level. Standing still is also a risk. Playing it safe can be just as dangerous as swinging big. And here's the key point that keeps coming back: timing. Ja Morant is not being discussed like this 2 years ago. He's not being discussed like this last year. He's being discussed now, when Memphis is ready to pivot, when his value is down, and when the Warriors are actively evaluating bold options. That doesn't mean a deal happens. That doesn't mean the Warriors pull the trigger, but it absolutely means the conversation is real. And when real conversations happen at this level, they don't come out of nowhere. So Warriors Nation, this isn't about saying Ja Morant is coming. This is about asking the hard question. If there's one last major swing to be taken in the Stephen Curry era, if there's one high-risk, high-upside move that could change the math of the West, is Ja Morant the kind of gamble this franchise would at least explore? Because sometimes championships aren't won by perfect moves, they're won by bold ones. Drop your take in the comments. Would you do it? Would you trust this culture to reset Ja Morant? Or is this a line you don't cross? If you're rocking with Warriors Nation News, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in, because this trade deadline is shaping up to be anything but quiet.